The chamber stretched wide and tall, carved from crystal that caught starlight and turned it into rainbow patterns across the curved walls. 2,000 delegates from across the galaxy filled the seats, their bodies taking every form imaginable. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had tentacles, others had wings. But today they all shared one purpose. They gathered to decide the fate of humanity. Ambassador Zekthor stood at the central platform. His 6 legs trembled slightly as he faced the Council Prime. The Varanthi had lived for 300 years, and his dark carapace bore scars from countless diplomatic battles. But this was different. This mattered more than anything he had ever done. Council Prime Solarius floated above the assembly. The crystalline being pulsed with soft blue light as it spoke. Its voice echoed through every translator in the room. 2,000 years of existence had taught it patience, wisdom, and hope for all species. We gather today to vote on humanity's application for membership in the Galactic Council, Solarius said. They have been observed for 50 standard years. They have followed our protocols. They have shown restraint and curiosity. The floor is open for discussion. Zekthor's mandibles clicked together nervously. He had prepared for this moment for months. He raised one clawed hand. Council Prime, honored delegates, he began. I must speak against this application. I must warn you. Humanity is dangerous. A ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Translators clicked and hummed. Some delegates leaned forward. Others turned to their neighbors, confused. Zekthor activated the holographic display. Images appeared above the platform. A blue and green planet rotated slowly. Earth. This is their homeworld, he said. Look at it carefully. 0.98 standard gravity. That is higher than 90% of species in this chamber can tolerate. Extreme temperature variations, hurricanes that tear apart landscapes, earthquakes that split the ground, volcanoes that darken the sky for years. This planet has tried to kill its inhabitants since life began there. The image changed. Creatures appeared. Tigers with fangs like daggers, bears that stood 3 meters tall, sharks that had hunted the oceans for millions of years, snakes with venom that could kill in minutes. Their world is full of apex predators, Zekthor continued. And humans, they are not the strongest. They are not the fastest. They have no claws, no venom, no natural armor. But they survived. They became the dominant species. Do you understand what that means? Ambassador Cathari of the peaceful Altarian people stood. Her blue skin glowed softly as she spoke. Ambassador Zekthor, we have studied humanity for 50 years. They have been peaceful. They share technology. They help others. They seem kind. Zekthor's compound eyes fixed on her. They seem kind because they choose to be kind. That is what makes them dangerous. Let me show you their history. New images appeared. Battles. Wars. Weapons that grew more terrible with each passing century. Swords became guns. Guns became bombs. Bombs became weapons that could destroy entire cities in a flash of light. They have fought each other for their entire history, Zekthor said. Over land. Over resources. Over ideas. Over beliefs. They have killed millions of their own kind, and yet they survived. Every war made them stronger. Every conflict taught them new ways to fight. The chamber grew quiet. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. 20 years ago, my ship encountered human explorers at the edge of their solar system, Zekthor said. His voice dropped lower. They were friendly. Curious, they asked questions about everything. But I watched them. I saw how quickly they learned, how they adapted to our technology in days, how their eyes never stopped moving, always watching, always analyzing. They reminded me of the great hunters on my own world, patient, intelligent, waiting for the right moment. Council Prime Solarius pulsed brighter. Ambassador Zekthor, your concerns are noted. But fear of a species because they survived a difficult world is not logical. Many species in this council came from challenging environments. You are not listening, Zekthor said. His voice grew urgent. I am not saying they are evil. I am saying they are too adaptable, too resilient, too good at survival. They have something we do not, something we cannot understand. They call it determination, stubbornness, the refusal to give up no matter what happens. He showed more images. Humans climbing the highest mountains on their planet. Humans diving to the deepest oceans. Humans crossing frozen wastelands and burning deserts. Humans going to space in primitive metal tubes, risking death to touch the stars. They do not know when to stop, Zekthor said. They do not accept limits. If you tell them something is impossible, they take it as a challenge. This is their nature. This is what makes them dangerous. Ambassador Cathari stood again. But they have been peaceful with us. They have not shown aggression. Surely that proves they have moved beyond their violent past. Zekthor felt his heart sink. They would not listen. He tried one more time. They have not shown aggression because they are outnumbered. Because they are learning. Because they are waiting. Do not mistake patience for weakness. Do not mistake restraint for inability. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the observation gallery watching the debate. She was human, of course, tall and lean with dark hair pulled back in a simple style. She wore the blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Her face remained calm and pleasant as she listened to Zekthor's warnings. But her eyes were sharp and alert, missing nothing. Inside, she felt a mixture of emotions. Part of her was angry at being called dangerous. Part of her was sad that this alien saw humans as a threat. But another part of her, a small quiet part, understood exactly what Zekthor meant. He was not wrong. He just did not understand that humanity had learned to control that dangerous nature, to channel it, to use it only when necessary, or so she hoped. The vote was called. Delegates activated their voting devices. Lights appeared on the massive display board. Green for yes. Red for no. Yellow for abstain. The lights blinked and settled. 847 green. 3 red. 2 yellow. The motion passes, Council Prime Solarius announced. Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. They will have full rights and responsibilities. Welcome to the greater community. The chamber filled with the sounds of celebration. Delegates congratulated each other. The Altarians sang a traditional welcoming song. Even the methane breathers in their sealed suits moved in patterns that indicated happiness. Zekthor stood alone at the platform. His legs felt heavy. He had failed. As the crowds began to leave, he spoke one last time. His voice was quiet, but the translators carried it to every corner of the chamber. You are making a mistake. You see their smiles and hear their kind words. You think they are harmless, but you are wrong. They are not conquering you now because they are not strong enough yet. They are learning. They are watching. They are becoming something greater. And when the time comes, when they are ready, you will understand what I tried to tell you today. You will understand that humans are not dangerous because they are weak. They are dangerous because they refuse to stay weak. No one heard him. They were too busy celebrating. Captain Chen left the observation gallery. She walked through the corridors of Capital Station, heading back to her ship. Other humans greeted her with excitement. They had done it. They had been accepted. Earth would join the galactic community. It was the greatest moment in human history. But Chen could not forget the fear she had seen in Zekthor's eyes. Could not forget his warnings. Part of her wanted to find him and explain. To tell him that humanity had changed, that they had learned from their mistakes, that they wanted peace. But another part of her, that small quiet part, wondered if Zekthor had seen something in humans that even they did not fully understand about themselves. Something that slept quietly, waiting for the right moment to wake up. That night, Zekthor sat alone in his quarters on the station. He looked out at the stars and felt a deep sadness. He had tried to warn them. He had shown them the evidence. But they had not listened. They thought they knew better. They thought 50 years of peaceful contact meant humanity was safe. But Zekthor had seen something in Captain Chen's eyes during that first contact 20 years ago. Something that still haunted him. It was not cruelty. It was not malice. It was something far more unsettling. It was the look of a predator that had decided not to hunt. For now, he activated his personal log and began recording. His voice was tired but firm. Today the Council made a decision that will change the galaxy forever. They invited humanity to join us. They did not listen to my warnings. They think I am paranoid. They think I fear humans because they are different. But I am not afraid of what humans are now. I'm afraid of what they will become. Because if there is one thing I learned from studying their history, it is this. Humans do not stay the same. They adapt. They evolve. They improve. And they never ever give up. May the stars have mercy on us all if we ever give them a reason to show us what they are truly capable of. He ended the recording and turned off the lights. Tomorrow would begin a new era for the galaxy. He only hoped he would be proven wrong about the humans, but deep in his heart he knew he would not be. 5 years passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. Those years changed everything, though few people noticed at first. The changes came slowly like water wearing away stone, but they were real. They were everywhere. Human ships appeared at every major trade station across Council space. Human diplomats walked the halls of government buildings on 100 different worlds. Human scientists joined research teams studying everything from quantum mechanics to xenobiology. Human engineers fixed broken machines and designed new ones. Human teachers shared their knowledge. Human doctors healed the sick. And everywhere they went, they learned. They asked questions. They took notes. They remembered everything. The Council's Integration Office released a report after the first year. Humanity had adapted to galactic society faster than any species in recorded history. The previous record holder, the Kavesh, had taken 12 years to establish trade relationships with 20 member species. Humans did it in 8 months. They learned new languages in weeks. They understood alien customs in days. They made friends everywhere they went. On the Altarian homeworld, Dr. Marcus Webb worked in a laboratory that overlooked the crystal forests. He was a small man with graying hair and tired eyes. He had seen too much suffering in his life. Wars, diseases, the worst that humanity had to offer. Now he wanted to help others avoid that pain. The Altarian plague had killed 3 million people in 6 months. The disease attacked the nervous system, causing paralysis and death. Altarian doctors tried everything. They used their most advanced medicines. They called in experts from across the council. Nothing worked. The plague kept spreading. Webb studied the samples under his microscope. He ran tests. He compared the data to Earth's medical databases. And slowly a pattern emerged. The plague was not so different from viruses humans had fought for centuries. It was actually quite similar to something called influenza. The Altarian researchers were shocked when Webb explained his findings. Viruses? But viral medicine was considered primitive, ancient. The Council's advanced species had moved beyond such simple approaches. They used genetic restructuring, cellular reprogramming, complex treatments that took years to develop. Webb smiled sadly. Sometimes the old ways work best. We have been fighting viruses for thousands of years. We got very good at it. He modified an antiviral treatment that humans had used for generations. He adjusted it for Altarian biology. Within 3 weeks, the plague was under control. Within 2 months, it was gone. 7 million lives were saved. The Altarians celebrated Webb as a hero. They gave him medals and honors. But Webb did not celebrate. He thought about all the people who had died before he arrived. All the people he could not save. That was the human way. Never satisfied. Always thinking about what could have been done better. Ambassador Cathari visited Webb in his laboratory. Her blue skin glowed with warmth as she thanked him. You have saved my people. We will never forget this debt. Webb looked out at the crystal forests. We are part of the council now. Your people are our people. That is what membership means. But as Cathari left, she noticed something. Webb's laboratory had files on hundreds of diseases, not just the Altarian plague. He was studying every illness known to council species, learning their patterns, understanding their weaknesses, just in case. Across the galaxy, other humans were making similar impressions. Human traders took the most difficult routes, traveling to dangerous systems that other species avoided. Human engineers volunteered for the worst jobs, mining asteroids in radiation zones, repairing stations in the middle of solar storms, working in environments that should have killed them. The council's species began to notice patterns. Humans never complained about pain. They treated danger as something interesting rather than frightening. They seemed to enjoy challenges. The harder the problem, the more excited they became, and they bonded with everything. Other species kept to their own kind, interacting with aliens only when necessary. But humans? They made friends with everyone. They adopted alien pets. They learned alien music. They ate alien food even when it made them sick. They formed emotional connections as easily as breathing. On Capital Station, a human child named Emma lived with her parents in the diplomatic quarters. She was 8 years old with bright eyes and endless curiosity. The station was her playground. She knew every corridor, every shop, every hiding place. One day she met a Varanthi youngling named Tik-Tik. He was the same age as Emma, though his insect-like body made him look very different. Most species avoided the Varanthi. Their appearance frightened people. Their culture was stern and serious. They did not play games. They did not make jokes. Emma did not care. She saw Tick-Tick sitting alone in the station's observation dome and sat down next to him. She started talking about the stars, about her favorite foods, about the strange gravity in different parts of the station. Tick-Tick did not know what to do. No one had ever just talked to him like this before. Over the following weeks, they became friends. Emma taught Tick-Tick games from Earth. Tick-Tick showed Emma the meditation techniques of his people. They explored the station together. They shared meals, even though their foods were completely different. They laughed at each other's jokes even when the translations did not quite work. Ambassador Zekthor watched them from a distance. He was Tick-Tick's grandfather. He had brought the youngling to the station to learn diplomacy. Now he saw his grandson playing with a human child, and it disturbed him deeply, not because Emma was unkind, but because she was so very kind, so accepting, so genuine. That was the trap, Zekthor realized. Humans did not conquer through force. They conquered through connection. They made you care about them. They became part of your life, and once you cared about them, you would do anything to protect them. It was a survival strategy more effective than any weapon. The accident happened in Year 4. Mining Station Theta-7 orbited a dead planet in the outer rim. 200 workers from 15 different species extracted rare minerals from the asteroid belt. The work was dangerous but profitable. Everyone followed safety protocols. Everyone knew the risks. The explosion came without warning. A mining charge detonated early. The blast tore through 3 sections of the station. Walls collapsed. Air rushed out into space. Emergency bulkheads sealed automatically, but they trapped dozens of workers in the damaged sections. The main power failed. Life support was failing. They had maybe 6 hours before everyone died. The station sent out a distress call. Rescue ships were 2 days away. Too far, too slow. The trapped workers prepared to die. Then the humans arrived. A small cargo ship called the Endeavor happened to be nearby. It had a crew of 12. They picked up the distress call and changed course immediately. When they docked with the dying station, the captain assessed the situation and started giving orders. The humans worked in conditions that should have been impossible. They crawled through collapsed tunnels. They welded broken pipes with failing oxygen supplies. They carried injured workers through areas exposed to radiation. They did not stop. They did not slow down. They did not complain. One human engineer named Sarah Kim spent 4 hours in a compartment where the temperature had dropped to -50 degrees. She was only wearing a standard work suit. She jury-rigged a temporary life support system using spare parts and sheer determination. By the time she finished, her fingers had frostbite. Her lips were blue. But the system worked. 37 workers survived because of her. When the rescue ships finally arrived, they found all 200 workers alive. The humans had saved them all. Every single one. The cost was high. 3 humans died in the rescue. 8 more were badly injured. But they had not left anyone behind. The Galactic Council held a special ceremony to honor the human crew. Council Prime Solarius presented them with the Medallion of Valor, the highest honor the Council could give. The ceremony was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Trillions of beings watched as the humans received their medals. These humans represent the best of what our Council can be, Solarius said. They risked everything to save people they had never met. They are heroes. The crowd cheered. The ceremony ended. Everyone celebrated. But Zekthor sat in his quarters and felt cold fear spreading through his body. He watched recordings of the rescue operation. He studied how the humans had worked. Their coordination. Their efficiency. Their absolute refusal to accept failure. That night he sent a private message to Council Prime Solarius. You call them heroes. You see their compassion and their courage. But I see something else. I see soldiers without uniforms. I see warriors who have learned to channel their aggression into rescue operations. Do you not understand? They did not save those workers in spite of being dangerous. They saved them because they are dangerous, because they know how to operate in chaos, because they thrive in situations that would kill anyone else. Solarius replied within the hour. Ambassador Zekthor, your warnings about humanity have been noted, but actions speak louder than fears. They have proven themselves to be valuable members of our community. Perhaps it is time to let go of your concerns. Zekthor did not respond. There was nothing more to say. The council had made up their minds. They saw what they wanted to see, heroes. They came from the darkness beyond the galactic rim. The first warning was a missing colony, then another, then 5 more in a single week. Each one simply disappeared. No distress calls, no survivors. Nothing but silence where millions of voices had been. The Galactic Council sent investigation teams. They found worlds stripped clean of all life. Buildings remained standing but empty. Technology intact but abandoned. It was as if something had vacuumed up every living thing and left the rest behind. Then they arrived in force. The Draketh swarm, they were not individuals. They were one mind in millions of bodies, organic ships the size of mountains, creatures bred for war and nothing else. They did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They simply consumed everything, everyone. They moved from system to system like a plague, leaving dead worlds behind them. The Council had not fought a real war in 3,000 years. Their military forces were designed for peacekeeping, for ceremonial displays, for protecting trade routes from pirates and smugglers. They had ships, yes. They had weapons, yes. But they had no experience with an enemy like this. The first battle was a massacre. Council forces engaged the swarm at the frontier world of Telos Prime. They had numerical superiority. They had superior technology. They had confidence. None of it mattered. The Draketh tore through their formations like paper. Their organic weapons ignored shields. Their numbers were endless. Their coordination was perfect. The Council fleet retreated in chaos. Half their ships never made it out. Telos Prime fell in 6 hours. 5 billion dead. Panic spread across Council space. Species that had lived in peace for millennia suddenly faced extinction. The Draketh kept coming. World after world fell. The Council's military commanders tried different strategies. Nothing worked. The swarm adapted to every tactic. They learned from every battle. They felt no fear. They accepted no surrender. Emergency session. Capital Station. Every ambassador gathered in the great chamber that had once been filled with celebration. Now it was filled with fear. Council Prime Solarius had dimmed to a pale blue. Its voice carried the weight of desperation. We have lost 17 worlds in 3 months. Our casualty count exceeds 60 billion. Our military forces are in retreat on all fronts. We must consider evacuation of the core worlds. We must prepare for the possibility that the Council will not survive this war. Silence filled the chamber. No one wanted to believe it. The Galactic Council had existed for 50,000 years. It had survived everything, wars, disasters, even the occasional rogue artificial intelligence. But this was different. This was extinction. Admiral Sarah Chen stood. She wore the uniform of Earth's Space Force now, though few people had paid attention when humanity had quietly established a military branch. She had been promoted from captain 5 years earlier. Some said she was too young for the rank. She was only 42. But her eyes held the weight of much more than 42 years. Council Prime, with respect, evacuation is premature. Humanity requests permission to deploy our defense forces. The chamber erupted in confusion. Defense forces? What defense forces? Humans were scientists and engineers and doctors. They ran trading ships and research stations. They did not have a military, did they? Ambassador Zekthor felt ice flood through his body. Oh no, he had been right. He had been right all along. Solarius dimmed even further. Admiral Chen, humanity does not have military forces registered with the Council. Our records show only civilian vessels and scientific installations. Chen's expression did not change. That is correct. We never registered them, but they exist. They have always existed. We hoped we would never need them. We hoped we could remain peaceful explorers and scientists forever. But hope is not a strategy. And we learned long ago to prepare for the worst even while hoping for the best. She activated a holographic display. Images appeared above the assembly. Ships. Not the friendly cargo vessels and research ships that everyone knew. These were different, sleek, aggressive, built for only one purpose. There were thousands of them. Our fleet has been stationed in the outer colonies since we joined the Council, Chen continued. We have 300 capital ships, 12,000 support vessels, 2 million trained personnel. We have been watching, waiting, learning your tactics and your technology. We are ready. Ambassador Cathari stood, her blue skin pale with shock. But this violates every treaty, every agreement we made. You promised to come in peace. Chen looked at her with sad eyes. We did come in peace, and we have kept that peace. But we also remember our history. We remember what happens when peaceful people have no way to defend themselves. We swore we would never be helpless again. Not as a species, not ever. So yes, we kept this secret. We are sorry for the deception. But we are not sorry for being prepared. The chamber exploded into argument. Some ambassadors demanded that humanity be expelled immediately. Others argued for trusting them. Still others sat in stunned silence trying to process this revelation. Zekthor did not argue. He simply walked to the central platform where Chen stood. He looked at her with his compound eyes. She looked back. For a long moment, neither spoke. You knew, Chen said quietly. You tried to warn them. I knew, Zekthor agreed. But I did not want to be right. Neither did we. Solarius pulsed bright, demanding attention. This debate is pointless. We are facing extinction. If humanity has forces that can help, we must accept their aid. We can deal with treaty violations later. If there is a later, the vote was quick. 800 votes in favor. Only 12 against. The rest abstained, still too shocked to decide. Permission granted, Solarius said. Deploy your forces, Admiral Chen. Save us. Chen nodded and activated her communications device. She spoke 3 words in her native language. 3 words that would change the galaxy forever. Wake them up. The human fleet arrived at the front lines 3 days later. Every species in the council watched the broadcasts. They saw ships unlike anything they had known. Ships with names painted on their hulls in human script. Names like Indomitable, Reckoning, Remember Earth, Unconquered, Last Stand, Never Again. The ships moved with precision. Every vessel knew its place. Every crew member knew their role. This was not a hastily assembled force. This was something that had been planned and practiced for years. This was something that had been waiting. Zekthor watched from his quarters. He recognized what he was seeing. He had studied human military history. These were not exploration ships that had been armed in an emergency. These were warships, purpose-built, designed from the beginning to do one thing: fight, win, survive. Every human civilian ship in Council space suddenly transformed. Cargo haulers opened hidden weapon bays. Mining vessels revealed military-grade sensors. Research stations activated defensive platforms. They had all been dual-purpose from the start. Every single one, the galaxy finally understood. Humanity had not been exploring. They had been scouting. They had not been trading. They had been establishing supply lines. They had not been making friends. Well, they had. But they had also been building a network, creating alliances, preparing for the day when someone would threaten their new family. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance. Around her, human officers worked with quiet efficiency. No panic, no fear, just focus. They had trained for this. They were ready. All ships report ready, her tactical officer said. He was a young man named Rodriguez, 23 years old, born on Mars. He had never seen Earth, but he wore the uniform with pride anyway. Chen looked at the tactical display. The Dracoth swarm was advancing on the colony world of New Harmony. 3 billion people, mostly Altarians, some humans, many others. All of them were family now. We have been peaceful for 6 years, Chen said to her crew. We came to the stars with open hands and open hearts. We made friends. We learned, we grew, we became part of something larger than ourselves. But our teachers forgot to ask us one important question. They never asked what we would do if someone threatened our family. She pressed a button. Her voice broadcast to every human ship in the fleet. Every human station. Every human soldier. Hundreds of thousands of people heard her words. Today we show them. Today we remind the galaxy why Earth is a death world. Why humanity survived everything our planet threw at us. Why we never give up. Why we never surrender. Why we never abandon our own. The Dracoth think they are predators. They think they are death itself. They are wrong. They have never met anything like us before. They have never faced a species that weaponized stubbornness, that turned determination into an art form. That looked at extinction and said, not today. She paused. The fleet waited. Every ship, every person, ready. The Council is our home now. These people are our people, and we protect our own. All ships advance. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity's family. Show them why you should have listened to Ambassador Zekthor. Show them what we really are. The human fleet surged forward. Behind them, the council watched. Some with hope. Some with fear. All of them with the same question. What had they invited into their home? What had been hiding beneath the surface of humanity's kind smiles and helpful nature? They were about to find out. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Battle of Praxis 4 began at dawn. The Dracoth swarm descended on the planet like a living darkness. Their organic ships blotted out the sun. They had done this 100 times before. They knew how it would end. The planet would fall. The inhabitants would be consumed. The swarm would move on, but they had never fought humans before. The human fleet did not meet them in space. That was the first surprise. The Dracoth expected a space battle. Every other species had tried to stop them before they reached the planet. But the human ships simply fell back, allowing the swarm to enter the atmosphere. Praxis 4 was a volcanic world. Active geology, unstable crust. The colonists had built their cities in the stable zones between the lava fields. It was a challenging place to live, but the minerals were valuable. 10 million people called it home. The swarm landed in their standard formation, overwhelming force. Cover every approach. Crush all resistance. They outnumbered the human defenders 10-1. The battle should have lasted hours at most. It lasted 3 days. The humans had studied the planet's geology. They knew every fault line, every magma chamber, every unstable zone. They had spent weeks preparing. Now they used that preparation. They lured the swarm into kill zones. Then they triggered controlled eruptions. Entire Dracoth formations disappeared under rivers of lava. Others were buried in volcanic ash. Some were caught in pyroclastic flows that moved faster than they could escape. The swarm adapted. They always adapted. They changed their approach, became more cautious, avoided the volcanic zones. But the humans adapted too. They used guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks, ambushes. They appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and vanished before the swarm could respond. They used the planet itself as a weapon. The galactic observers watched in stunned silence. This was not how wars were fought. This was not honorable or clean or straightforward. This was brutal, efficient, ruthless. This was winning. Commander James Rodriguez led a strike team into the heart of a Dracoth bioship. They wore powered armor and carried weapons designed specifically to fight organic enemies. The bioship's interior was a nightmare of pulsing flesh and acidic fluids. It should have been impossible to navigate. But humans had trained in worse conditions. Much worse. Move fast, Rodriguez ordered his team. We plant the virus and get out. 3 minutes. No more. They fought through corridors made of living tissue. Dracoth warriors tried to stop them. The humans cut them down with cold precision. No hesitation. No mercy, just focus. They reached the neural center, planted the virus package, and retreated. The whole operation took 2 minutes and 40 seconds. The virus was humanity's own creation. It attacked the Dracoth's neural network, disrupted their coordination, made them individuals instead of a collective, for creatures that had never known individuality. It was worse than death. It was chaos. Other species were horrified. Biological weapons were forbidden by galactic law. They were considered barbaric, inhuman. But the humans did not care about legal definitions. They cared about survival, about protecting their people, about winning. Admiral Chen addressed the council from the bridge of her flagship. Her uniform was stained. Her face was tired, but her voice was firm. You called us dangerous. You were right. We are dangerous. Every tactic we use comes from thousands of years of warfare. We have killed each other in every way imaginable. We know every dirty trick, every psychological weapon, every method of breaking an enemy's will. And now we use all of that knowledge to protect you, to protect our family. If that makes you uncomfortable, too bad. We are saving your lives. The Swarm Queen felt something new. Fear. It was an alien sensation. She had consumed 17 civilizations. She had faced billions of enemies. She had never lost. But these humans, they fought like nothing she had encountered. They did not follow predictable patterns. They did not break when the odds were against them. They did not surrender when defeat seemed certain. They fought harder. Ambassador Zekthor volunteered for combat duty. At 300 years old, he was too old for frontline service. But he did not care. The humans had changed something in him. He saw them fight, saw them bleed, saw them die protecting others, and he could not sit safely on Capital Station while they sacrificed themselves. He joined a mixed unit, Varanthi warriors alongside human soldiers. At first, the differences were obvious. The Varanthi relied on superior firepower and defensive positions. The humans preferred mobility and aggressive tactics, but they learned from each other. The Varanthi taught the humans patience. The humans taught the Varanthi adaptability. During a battle on the colony world of Haven, Zekthor saw human nature up close. A young human soldier, barely 20 years old, threw herself on a Draketh explosive device to protect Varanthi civilians. She died instantly, saved 12 lives. Later, her squad mates talked about her like she was a hero, like her sacrifice was expected, normal, the right thing to do. Zekthor finally understood. Humans were not dangerous because they were violent. They were dangerous because they loved fiercely. They made everything personal. Every civilian was someone's family. Every lost ship was someone's home. Every fallen soldier was someone's friend. That love, that connection made them capable of terrible things, made them willing to do whatever was necessary to protect what they loved. The turning point came 6 months into the war. Operation Prometheus. The humans planned something audacious, something no sane species would attempt. They would sacrifice an entire colony fleet to draw the swarm into a trap. 500 ships, 30,000 personnel. They would jump into the middle of Draketh space, broadcast a false distress signal, and hold position while the main human fleet moved into attack position. Council Prime Solarius protested. "You cannot sacrifice 30,000 lives. It is not acceptable." Admiral Chen looked at the crystalline being with calm eyes. Every person on those ships volunteered. They know the risks. They know they probably will not come back, and they are going anyway, because if this works, we can end the war. We can save billions. That is what humanity does. We calculate the cost. We accept the sacrifice. We do what is necessary. The operation launched. The colony fleet jumped into Draketh space. They broadcast their signal. The swarm took the bait. Thousands of Draketh ships converged on the fleet. The humans held their position. They fought with desperate courage. They died by the thousands, but they held long enough. The main human fleet dropped out of hyperspace behind the swarm. They had the element of surprise. They had superior positioning. They had anger. The battle was brutal. Ships exploded. Space filled with debris. But when it ended, the swarm's main fleet was destroyed. 90% casualties. The greatest military defeat in Draketh history. Of the 30,000 humans who volunteered for the operation, only 2,000 survived. They were rescued from the wreckage, brought back to Council space, treated as heroes. But they did not feel like heroes. They felt like survivors. They mourned their lost friends. They wondered why they lived when others died. That was human nature too. They did not glory in war. They did not celebrate death. They did what needed to be done, and then they carried the weight of it forever. The Swarm Queen received the news of the defeat. For the first time in her species' history, she felt true fear. These humans were not prey. They were not even equals. They were something else, something that accepted death as a tool, something that weaponized sacrifice. Admiral Chen opened a direct communication channel to the Swarm Queen. The translation was difficult. The Draketh did not use language the way other species did. But the message got through. "You picked the wrong prey," Chen said. "You thought the Council was weak because they were peaceful. You were wrong. They were not weak. They were civilized. But they are under our protection now, and we remember every predator that ever hunted us, every disaster that tried to kill us, every challenge that made us stronger. You wanted to consume us? We have been consumed by wars that lasted generations, by plagues that killed millions, by disasters that should have ended our species, and we survived all of it. We are still here. We are always still here. That is what we do. We survive, we endure. We never stop fighting. So come at us. Keep trying. We will be waiting. And we will show you what it means to fight a Death World species that has learned to love." The Swarm Queen did not respond with words. She responded with action. The Draketh fleet began to retreat. Not to regroup. Not to find a better position. They were running. For the first time in their existence, the swarm was afraid of its prey. The human fleet pursued them. not to annihilate them. Chen ordered restraint. They drove the swarm back beyond the galactic rim. They established a permanent defensive line. They built stations and deployed sensors. They made it clear that this territory was protected, that the Council was protected, that anyone who threatened humanity's family would face consequences. The war lasted 18 months. It cost the Council 23 worlds, 200 billion lives. The human casualties were the highest in proportion to their population. They lost 15% of their military, millions of soldiers, thousands of ships, but they had saved the Council. They had stopped the swarm. They had proven themselves. The Galactic Council chamber looked the same as it had 2 years earlier. The same crystal walls, the same rainbow light, the same 1,000 seats filled with representatives from across the galaxy. But everything had changed. The people were different. The mood was different. The galaxy itself was different. The Draketh swarm had been pushed back beyond the frontier. They remained there, lurking in the darkness, but they did not attack. The human fleet held the defensive line. They had been there for 6 months. They would stay there forever if necessary. That was another thing the galaxy had learned about humans. When they said forever, they meant it. Now the Council had to decide what to do about humanity. The debate had raged for weeks. Some species wanted humans expelled. They were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to break the rules. Others argued that humanity had saved them all, that they deserved gratitude, not punishment, that the Council owed them everything. Council Prime Solarius glowed with steady blue light. It had aged during the war. All of them had. 2 years of fear and death had marked them all. We gather today to determine humanity's future role in the Galactic Council. The floor is open. Ambassador Takesh of the Vortan Collective stood first. His species had lost the most worlds to the swarm. His voice carried the weight of billions of dead. Humanity violated every treaty. They kept secret weapons. They deceived us. They broke galactic law. We cannot allow this. We must expel them from the Council immediately. Ambassador Cathari rose to her feet. Her blue skin had lost some of its glow. The war had been hard on the Altarians, but her voice was strong. Ambassador Takesh speaks of broken treaties. I speak of saved lives. My world would have fallen to the swarm. My people would be extinct. Humanity saved us. Not just once, but twice. First from the plague, then from annihilation. We owe them everything. The arguments continued. Hours passed. Every ambassador had something to say. Some praised humanity. Others condemned them. The galaxy was divided. Finally, Zekthor stood. The chamber grew quiet. Everyone remembered his warnings from 7 years earlier. Everyone wondered what he would say now. Had he been right? Had humanity proven to be the danger he predicted? 7 years ago, I stood in this chamber and warned you about humanity, Zekthor began. His voice was tired but clear. I said they were dangerous. I showed you their history. I begged you not to accept them. You voted against me. You thought I was paranoid. You thought I was wrong. He paused and looked around the chamber. Every eye was on him. Every translator was listening. I was right. Humans are dangerous. Everything I warned you about was true. They are violent. They are ruthless. They are capable of terrible things. They will break any rule to achieve their goals. They will sacrifice anything to protect what they love. They are, without question, the most dangerous species I have ever encountered. The chamber erupted. Some delegates nodded in agreement. Others shouted in protest. But Zekthor raised his hand for silence. He was not finished. But I was also wrong, he continued. I thought their danger made them a threat to us. I thought they would eventually turn on us. I thought their violent nature would destroy the peace we had built. I was wrong about all of that. Because I did not understand one crucial thing about humanity. They are only dangerous to those who threaten their pack. We became their pack. The moment we accepted them into the Council, we became their family, and humans will do anything to protect their family. He looked at the human delegation. Admiral Chen sat there in her uniform. She looked back at him with those sharp, intelligent eyes. The eyes of a predator, the eyes of a protector, both at once. I fought alongside humans in this war, Zekthor said. I saw them die protecting people they barely knew. I saw them sacrifice themselves for strangers. I saw them turn their capacity for violence into a shield for the innocent. Yes, they are dangerous. Yes, they are ruthless. Yes, they will do terrible things, but only to protect us, only to keep us safe. That is what makes them unique. They are not dangerous despite their compassion. They are dangerous because of it. The chamber fell silent. Zekthor sat down. His grandson Tik-Tik, now a young adult, sat beside him. The boy had fought in the war too. He understood. Council Prime Solarius pulsed brighter. Ambassador Zekthor speaks wisdom. The question before us is not whether humans are dangerous. They are. The question is what we do with that danger. Do we fear it? Or do we embrace it? A new voice spoke. It was Ambassador Reth of the silicon-based crystalline concordance. Their species rarely spoke in council sessions. They preferred observation to participation, but now their voice resonated through the chamber like chimes in the wind. I propose a solution. Humanity becomes the official defense force of the Galactic Council. They maintain their military. They continue to protect us. In exchange, we provide them with resources and support. We acknowledge that their methods may be brutal, but we accept that brutality when necessary to preserve our civilization. Admiral Chen stood. She shook her head. No. Confusion rippled through the chamber. Solarius dimmed slightly. Admiral Chen, you decline this honor? We will not be your weapons, Chen said firmly. We will not be a tool that you point at your problems. That is not why we keep our military. That is not why we fought this war. We fought because you are our family, because we chose to protect you, not because we were ordered to, not because we were paid, because we wanted to. She stood taller. Her voice carried to every corner of the chamber. We will defend you. We will stand between you and any threat. We will bleed for you. We will die for you, but we will do it as partners, as equals, as family. We will not be your attack dogs. We will be your friends who happen to know how to fight. If you cannot accept that, then we will leave. We will go back to our own space. We will protect our own worlds, and you will be on your own. The silence that followed was absolute. Every delegate understood what was being said. Humanity was drawing a line. They would not be controlled. They would not be used. They would help, but on their own terms. Council Prime Solarius pulsed with thought. Then it glowed brighter. I propose a compromise. We establish a joint military academy. Humans teach their methods to all species. In return, all species teach their knowledge to humanity. We learn from each other. We become stronger together. And humanity remains independent, but allied with the Council. Partners, as Admiral Chen said. Not servants, Chen considered this. She looked at her advisors. They nodded. She turned back to the Council. Acceptable. But we have one condition. The Academy trains everyone equally. No special treatment. No separate classes. If you want to learn how to fight like humans, you have to train like humans. That means pushing yourself beyond what you think is possible. That means accepting failure and learning from it. That means understanding that survival sometimes requires sacrifice. Agreed, Solarius said. All in favor? The vote was overwhelming. 912 in favor, 17 against. The rest abstained. The motion passed. Humanity would remain in the Council as independent partners and defenders. The galaxy had accepted them, danger and all. 10 years passed. The Joint Military Academy became the pride of the Council. Thousands of cadets from hundreds of species trained there. They learned human tactics and human resilience. They learned how to think like Death World survivors. They learned that limits were often just suggestions. Humans learned too. They learned patience from the Varanthi, strategy from the crystalline concordance, diplomacy from the Altarians. They became better warriors by becoming better people. Ambassador Zekthor took a teaching position at the Academy. At 317 years old, he was one of the oldest instructors, but he was also one of the most respected. He taught a course on human history, not just the battles and wars, but the whole story, the art, the music, the literature, the philosophy. He taught his students that humans were not just warriors. They were also poets and teachers and dreamers. His most important lesson came at the end of every term. He would gather his students and tell them the same thing. You have learned how to fight like humans. You have learned their tactics and their weapons. You have learned their resilience. But the most important lesson is this. Humans are not dangerous because they are monsters. They are dangerous because they are not. They are dangerous because they love deeply, because they form connections easily, because they will sacrifice everything to protect what they care about. That is what makes them truly formidable. not their weapons, not their tactics. Their hearts. On Earth, monuments were built, memorials for the fallen, names carved in stone, millions of names, people who died protecting others, people who gave everything so that civilization could survive. Humans visited these memorials. They cried, they remembered, they made sure the sacrifices would never be forgotten. That was human nature too. They never forgot their dead. They carried them forward, made sure their sacrifices meant something. Council Prime Solarius visited Earth for the first time since the war. It had wanted to understand humanity better, to see where they came from. Admiral Chen gave it a personal tour. They walked through a park in New York. Children played. Dogs ran around. People ate lunch on benches. Music floated from street performers. It was ordinary, peaceful, beautiful.